Okay, good afternoon, respected guests and expert speakers. I'm Gi Young-jung, the Vice Head of HK+ National Strategies Research Project Agency at the Center for International Area Studies at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies and chair of the first session. Okay, let's begin the session. It is with immense honor that I sit here before you as the chairperson of this prestigious forum. Our team, selected by the National Research Foundation of Korea for the Humanities Korea Plus project in May 2020, has been diligently working on our agenda, searching for the supranational cooperation and communication, identifying the contexts with Northern culture, and building a cultural hub for the creation of unification-friendly circumstances. Your presence here today is a testament to the importance of our shared mission. As a small step toward identifying cultural contact points with the North and establishing a cultural hub, we launched the first Culture and Strategies Forum for the Korean Peninsula and the North on April 8, 2021. The second forum was held in Seoul on May 25, 2022. The third forum took place in Tashkent, Uzbekistan in December 2023. And the fourth forum was held on October 7, 2024 in Seoul. Now we are Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. I'm honored to invite a diverse group of domestic and influential experts, international experts, to this forum. I would like to express my sincere gratitude again for accepting our invitation. Thank you. Since its founding as a government on August 15, 1948, Korea has steadily expanded its diplomatic alliances. A close examination of Korean diplomacy's history reveals two pivotal periods of growth. The first was in 1962, when we established diplomatic relations with 28 countries, and the second was in 1992 with 18 countries. These two decisive expansions occurred a generation apart. On February 14, 2024, Korea officially established diplomatic relations with Cuba, and on April 10, 2025, Korea established diplomatic relations with Syria, thereby establishing ties with all 193 UN member countries. We made our diplomatic ties with Mongolia in 1990, and as all we know, this is the 35th anniversary of our diplomatic normalization. The expansion of Korea's diplomatic reach, particularly toward the North, was made possible by the Northern policy. Initially shaped by President Park Chung-hee's June 23 declaration in 1973, the Northern policy was announced with President Rotaew's inaugural address and the July 7th declaration in 1988. Korea inaugurated an era of global diplomacy marked by the successful hosting of the 1988 Olympic Games and the post-Cold War era. While the Northern policy was repackaged through successive administrations, its essential nature remained sustaining cooperation with the North. The Northern policy and diplomatic moves during Rotaew's administration, the globalization policy and market opening in Kim Il-sung administration, and Kim Dae-jung's sunshine policy and Iron Silk Road, Romeo's Northeast Asian peace and prosperity policy, and the Northeast Asian balance theory, Lee Myung-bak President's comprehensive pragmatic diplomacy, and the three major New Silk Roads policy, Park Geun-hye's trust politic and the Eurasia Initiative, Moon Jae-in's Northeast Asia Plus Community of Responsibility and New Northern Policy, and the Yoon Suk-yeol administration's contribution as a global pivotal state for freedom, peace, and prosperity. These represent Korea's call and efforts to connect with the North and the world. And the newly inaugurated government are searching for the new agenda that can improve the relationship between Korea and the Northern countries. Today's International Academic Conference aligns with these efforts, and we can discuss the various issues facing the Korean Peninsula and the world. Let me invite the three speakers to present their first session today. As we are located like here, so I'd like to invite each presenter to the podium one by one, and then the speaker can take the floor and make their presentation within 10 to 15 minutes, okay? As it reaches 10 minutes, I will raise my hand as a warning sign, and then you can conclude your presentation within 5 minutes. And after that, I'd like to invite panelists to discuss the topics raised by the presenters, then if we can have more time, I'd like to give my mic to the floor and make some discussions regarding our topic. So let me introduce 3 speakers over today. Actually, it was 4, but one was invited by the government, so that's why he could not make this time. And the first speaker is Director Jobu Dachnam from the Institute of International Relations, Mongolian Academy of Science. A little bit later, please. And the second speaker was Jotgerel Nayam Secheren, Research Fellow of the Institute for Strategic Studies, National Security Council of Mongolia, but as I told you, he was called by the government, so that's why he couldn't make it today. And the second speaker is the Director Valeria Gianotta, Observatory in Turkey, Italian Center for International Political Studies. Valeria? Thank you. And the third speaker is Buyandajer Davonyanstan, Research Fellow of the Institute for Strategic Studies, National Security Council of Mongolia. Thank you. So I'd like to invite Mr. Director to the podium, and as I told, well, you can have 10 to 15 minutes for speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. It's my great honor to have been here, just presented my short presentation for this academic conference. And, Chair, do I have to show my presentation, PPT? Okay, anyway, I'm just trying to start to introduce my institute for a while. As I mentioned before, during the opening ceremony, my institute has just started, established in 1968. First, almost as like the first think tank organization, as called as like academic institute in Mongolia, mainly just focusing for Chinese study, as well as in later on how it became as like international studies since 1990s. And I have just I had some opportunity to participate some kind of academic research projects relating for Northeast Asia since my graduation in 1997. And since that time, I have just participated as like a young scholar, which is just dedicated to making some kind of research projects relating for Northeast Asia. So first of all, I like to express my gratitude to having an opportunity to just having this opportunity to introduce my institute as well as myself. But secondly, I have to just say sorry for my background is not as especially for Korean studies as well as Northeast Asia. But I'm just representing here my institute, so I'm just trying to give the short representation from some kind of result of my institutes. And we had just given our title is just East Asian Security and Mongolian Participation. As you know, that Mongolia's national security concept and foreign policy concepts state that friendly relations with Russia and China are the top foreign policy goals of the country. It will maintain balanced relations with those countries and develop broad-based sense of good neighborliness with them. Within the framework of the third neighbor policy, it also stipulates the development and expansion of partnership and cooperation with United States, India, Republic of Korea, Japan, Turkey, and European Union. The development of bilateral friendly relations with cooperation with other Asian countries, the participation in multilateral cooperation in Asia-Pacific region, and the support of policies and activities aimed at strengthening strategic stability and enhancing security cooperation in East Asia as well as Northeast Asia and Central Asia. My presentation just having briefly trying to introducing the concept of Mongolian foreign policy as in following four figures. Firstly, of course, we are just trying to have in some maintain to neutrality and non-alignment, as well as diplomatic initiatives of the Mongolian state and contribution to peace and security in regional and as well as international stage, and also trying to introduce in some kind of engagement in multilateral forums. First of all, according to my theme, I'm just trying to introduce in Mongolian foreign policy orientation. As well, we are just trying to introduce some attempts to having player in regional international activities. And it has just kind of some tools which we are just trying to introduce in international stage. Firstly, we are just trying to make some participation in peace process. Mongolia has organized the Ulaanbaatar dialogue, or we are just shortly calling it like an UBD initiatives on Northeast Asian security issues since 2014. Taking advantage of these advantages of equal relations with the countries in Northeast Asian region. As a result of UBD, it has grown into the event that has attracted attention from not only the region, but also from international organizations and countries which is the country has relations and cooperation. In the area of increasing geopolitical competition and confrontation between great powers and shrinking foreign policy space, the conference has expanded its activities by taking into account the geostrategic characteristics of their own country and real contribution and conditions that they can contribute to the stabilization of global and regional security. Each year, the number of participating organizations and researchers has been increased, and the conference has become a regional dialogue mechanism aimed at promoting peace and security. There are 5 main sections in the international conference, each of which has discussed a topic of interest. The first session will feature researchers from Northeast Asian countries and beyond who will discuss challenges and opportunities facing regional security, while the second session will focus on ways in which trust can be strengthened. Furthermore, sessions 3 to 5 discuss contemporary topics such as regional economic cooperation, energy, youth, and climate changes. As a result of continuous organization of the Ulaanbaatar dialogue since 2014, the conference has become an event which has attracted the attention of scholars, researchers, and diplomats who are interested in Mongolia and the region who are implementing our foreign policy. The purpose of the conference is to provide an overview of our natural and peaceful foreign policy and position, which is of the interest of international community and experts, and to discuss the opportunities and conditions for becoming center of regional cooperation. Its objective is to examine security challenges facing Central and Northeast Asia, evaluate the maturity of the security dialogue mechanism, and finally determine the role and position that Mongolia can play in developing regional cooperation. As maybe most of you knows about the last of this conference dialogue, which held in last June in Ulaanbaatar. It has just supported by international organization and others, and it's just having one of this best trial of Mongolian foreign policy to make having sustainable condition in Northeast Asian region. And second, one of the most important things we are just became is nuclear weapon-free status and security model. The declaration of the nuclear weapon-free zone in 1992 was a major achievement for Mongolia in strengthening its independence and security, as well as regional security and trust. Following years of the relentless diplomatic efforts, Mongolia has now been declared the only nuclear weapon-free country in the world. More than 10 resolutions have been adopted by United Nations Security Council authorizing the consideration of Mongolia's biennial report on international security and its status as a nuclear weapon-free zone. As a result of the dialogue with nuclear weapon states, joint declarations were issued in 1995 and 2000, and a joint declaration in 2012, supporting the Mongolian nuclear weapon-free status. Currently, Mongolia is pursuing policies and activities aimed at legally establishing and guaranteeing its nuclear weapon-free zone status through the trilateral agreement with Russia and China, and is actively supporting the non-proliferation movement. And later on, we are just also talking about the Mongolian foreign policy relating for third neighborhood policy and balancing. Mongolia is situated between two nuclear armed powers with the largest land area and the largest population, which with its own unique characteristics. As a new multipolar world order emerges, it's important to maintain a balance of interests between balanced relations with two neighbors, trilateral cooperation, and the third neighbor policy at the appreciated level. Third neighbor policy doesn't include elements on hard balancing, such as joining military alliances or providing military equipment to increase defense capabilities. A soft balancing approach focuses only on elements such as political, economic, and cultural cooperation. While Mongolia has partnership with the NATO member countries, defense cooperation is limited to activities aimed at enhancing the peacekeeping capabilities of Mongolian armed forces and regularizing diplomatic exchanges in the defense sector. This policy provides Mongolia with a relative buffer from regional geopolitical tensions, enabling it to participate independently in East Asian security dialogues. And also, we have to just talk about the next one of most important things about for economic integration. As a result of its small markets, low capacity, harsh climate, and distance from international seas and roads, Mongolia has limited capacity to conduct efficient production and has stifled the development of many sectors of its economy. Due to this situation, Mongolia's economy is dominated by the few competitive sectors and few types of products, and it's highly dependent on the foreign markets and external factors. Currently, Mongolia's economic presence in East Asia is primarily driven by mining, trade, investment, and regional integration. The Mongolian economy is relatively small compared to other major East Asian economies such as China, Japan, South Korea, but its natural resources and geographic location make an important strategic player. As of last year, 2024, the mining sector accounted for about 25% of Mongolian GDP and 90% of its exports, while East Asian markets, particularly China, are the main buyers of minerals such as coal, copper, and iron ore. Over the past few years, China has accounted for more than 90% of all countries' total exports. Coal, copper, and large mines such as Oyu Tolgoi, Tawang Tolgoi contribute significantly to China's steel production and energy needs. Nevertheless, China accounts for approximately 40% of total imports, followed by Russia at 25%, Japan at 10%, and Korea for around 4%. About 80% of all imports come from those East Asian countries, and largest source of imports is China, which provides trucks, mobile phones, and chemical products. Although the Mongolia is very interested to cooperate in the ASEAN, where have been significant changes in the country's political, economic, and trade processes. In part, this is due to factors such as Mongolia's geographic location, the small size of the markets, and the nuclear unclear legal environment for investment. It's undoubtedly an important step in Mongolia's policy of joining East Asian integration to make advantages of its membership in the ASEAN Treaty and Amity and cooperation, and actively participate in some projects in the cooperation implemented by ASEAN countries. Last one, I'm just noticing about of participation in international peacekeeping operations of Mongolia. Upon sending 2 military observers to the UN peacekeeping mission in 2002, Mongolia became the member of the list of nations contributing troops to UN peacekeeping operations in terms of its contribution. It ranked 82 out of 89 countries, but now it has just come to 24th of 123 countries. Mongolia has a small economy, a small population, and small military, yet it makes significant contribution to UN and NATO, and it's recognized internationally as a reliable partner in the peacekeeping operations despite those limitations. In addition to participating in peacemaking operations, Mongolia has established an internationally recognized modern peacekeeping training center and peace support operation training center in Tavan-Tolgoi. This facility allows bilateral training with countries of varying sizes, from the largest armed forces such as India, Germany, to the smallest armed forces such as Belgium and Qatar. It is ethics training center that small and but unique. Han-Quist international peacekeeping training exercises is conducted, creating a conducive environment for China, Japan, South Korea, and the United States, and other emerging peacekeeping troop contributors and train with each others. Despite today's uncertain geopolitical environment, Mongolia's peacekeeping efforts demonstrate the potential for large and small powers to work together creatively. Despite Mongolia's limited military capabilities, peacekeeping has become an important tool for enhancing Mongolia's standing on the international stage and demonstrating its responsibility as a member of the international community. As a conclusion, I just try to say a few sentences like through its active diplomatic engagement, neutral stance, and dialogue platform, Mongolia plays a significant role in East Asian security. A number of factors demonstrated in Mongolia's significant role in the regional security, including Ulaanbaatar dialogue, its contribution to Korean Peninsula peace process, and its nuclear-free status, its policy toward third-party neighbors, and its participant in peacekeeping operations. Northeast Asian economic integration offers Mongolia an opportunity for trade, investment, and infrastructure development. However, it faces challenges related to geographical limitations, weak infrastructure development, and unfavorable investment conditions. Through the use of platforms such as ASEAN, RCEP, and BRI, Mongolia can participate more actively in Northeast Asian as well as East Asian integration. An important objective of Mongolia's trade agreements is to expand foreign trade and to join the global economy. For diversifying markets, agreements with Japan, Republic of Korea, and countries in Asia-Pacific region are important, while agreements with the Eurasian Economic Union and the Mongolia-Russia-China Economic Corridor of BRI are important role in enhancing regional cooperation. Okay, thank you very much for your attention, and it's my speech about for Mongolian roles in the Northeast Asian as well as East Asian security issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Director Tashnong. And I'm sorry to hear that Korea is not the first neighbor, just the third neighbor. And we can highly appreciate Mongolia's effort to contribute to the peace of the global society by making a diplomatic initiative. Okay, so I'd like to invite the second speaker to the podium, Director Gianotta, Valeria Gianotta from Italy, and she will present with the topic, how Italy operates in a fragmented world. I didn't know that the world was fragmented. I'm joking, sorry.
The word is fragmented, yeah.
So you have 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay. So first of all, thank you for the invitation once again to join this amazing organization. We worked together in Seoul last year, now in Mongolia. So thanks to Konkuk University Center for Strategic Studies and to the hosting institution, the National University of Mongolia. We are living in a fragmented world, as it has been mentioned. Like the international system is clearly shifting. There is huge debate going on among us as scholars and experts of international relations, also related to the definition in which kind of international system we are living nowadays. Because clearly there is an inflation of power. We are shifting from a unipolarity system towards a multipolarity system. The degree of instability and unpredictability is dramatically increasing, as well as there is a huge issue in terms of international leadership. In these things are not, it seems, they are not getting better after the Trump came to power. So in the first 6 months of his mandate, we have been witnessing many crises, international, but also domestically. In terms of maturity of democracy, it seems that democratic governance is just facing an incredible critical time. Moreover, the great competition, as it was also stated within the main title, is increasing. Beside the United States, we are seeing an increasing role of China, which is not just a new element. We have been witnessing since years, since the beginning of the 21st century, as well as Russia is posing some threats in terms of security, military, energy supply, and it's not a new element as well. It started years ago with the annexion of Crimea and then the new Russian war on Ukraine and so on and so forth. So in this very complicated international environment, actually the middle powers have I think they deserve particular attention because middle powers have some assets in terms of strategy, in terms of flexibility, and in terms of coalition building capacity. Because definitely by its own definition, they are called to protect their own power, their own interests, by extending as well, as much as possible, their own influence in order to not lose power. In this, of course, what you see in the book is just a draft or my presentation, but I do believe that we can observe the middle power from the point of view of coalition building, multilateral engagement, norm entrepreneurship, mediation, and conflict resolution. Because basically they are characterized, as I mentioned before, by high degree of flexibility and agility, by high skill in terms of mediation and facilitation, their capacity on focusing on specific issues and therefore creating coalition, and also to bridging the divides. I don't want to take much time on this, but I will rather focus on Italy. You know, my expertise basically is Turkey, but I do believe that Italy, as well as Turkey, in terms of middle power, are increasing their role for playing a better role in terms of regional integration, both in economic and political terms, as well in terms of connectivity, industry, and logistics, and so on and so forth. So basically, what I notice is that Italy has some asset in terms of strategic solidarity promoter. First of all, he's a NATO member. It's an European Union founding member. He plays a great role in terms of energy. Overall, after the Russian war to Ukraine, it has its own effort in diversification and energetic supply chain has been very huge. as well as Italy has been recognized worldwide for its cultural diplomacy, for its cultural heritage. I will focus mainly on the countries which are the focus of our conference, which are the Central Asia countries, Turkey as well. In my presentation, I did not write and mention Mongolia and Korea, but I'm planning also to enlarge the scope because Italy has a great shared interest and dividend in terms of security and energy with Mongolia. They have a good relations, as well as in terms of South Korea, Italy and Rome and Seoul, they seal a strategic partnership and they have many ties in different sectors and at different level. So, but what I find pretty much interesting and also much contemporary is the new attitude of the Italian government towards Central Asia and towards Turkey. Thanks as well to the pragmatic approach of the Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who is having a sort of strategic autonomy from the European institution as well, the NATO member, in pursuing and protecting the Italian interest. I will be brief. Basically, the Italian approach towards those areas is led by economic cooperation, of course, in terms of energy security, infrastructure development, and above all, diversification of trade. Of course, the main interest is just to grant regional stability, because Italy is pretty much aware that any instability may have a spillover effect on the Italian interest and Italian stability as well, as Italy has been located in the large Mediterranean area, and it grants a sort of historic responsibility in keeping the stability. Counter-terrorism and border security. Migration has been one of the hottest issues for the current Italian government. Also in terms of political and cultural cooperation, Rome is playing a great role along with dialogue and diplomacy, education and cultural exchange, and also promoting democratic development of those specific areas. When it comes to Central Asia, just is very recent, the main effort and initiative by the Italian government that recently, last June, at the beginning of June, the Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni went to Kazakhstan, and there it has been sealed the first Italy and the Central Asia countries strategic platform. So in terms of multilateral framework, there is also the promotion of new initiative just for the protecting the shared interests. Those interests are pivoting on economy, integration of supply chain, but also in terms of connectivity. Because by counterbalancing the role of China in those areas, as the gentleman colleague mentioned before, Italy, by proposing the southern corridor in terms of energy, logistics, and anything, plays a crucial role in the counterbalancing. And actually, this experiment of the Italy and the Central Asia platform has been of crucial importance, and it has been recognized by all stakeholders: Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan as well, as an historic element and historical development in terms of shared interests and in terms of multilateralism. Besides Central Asia, one of the core interests and core partner of Italy has been Turkey. Actually, the bilateral relations between Italy and Turkey has been always very good and very positive. Both of them are NATO members. They share the belonging to the same international organizations. Turkey is also a European Union candidate member. So in terms of values, there is an important glue. However, in this last year, we have been witnessing what I call the golden time of Italy-Turkey bilateral relations, so the increasing in terms of trade and in terms of bilateral exchange. Just in 2019, the bilateral exchange was $19,000. billions of dollars. Then it increased to $20 billion, and recently it has been sealed to $32 billion, which is also above the joint target that the President Erdogan and Prime Minister Meloni has declared in just a couple of years ago. Sorry. But what is important nowadays, when we look at Turkey and when we look at the relations with Central Asia, is the perfect integration in terms of supply chain. So throughout an increasing trade, business agreements, and also industrial partnership, Italy is solidifying basically its role in the regional integration and in the perfect integration in terms of supply chain, which is of crucial importance in order to mitigate the level of unpredictability that we have in the international system, to mitigate also the negative effect of the crisis. Definitely, everything has been also facilitated by as I mentioned, the pragmatic and also transnational approach of the President Giorgia Meloni. But it looks like a positive development, and actually it is, but still there are some critical elements if we want to go deep. And these critical elements can be given by the volatility within Italian political dynamics, because yes, the Italian government has the majority, but still there are some turmoils within our system. Also, the level of the criticalities at regional level and international level, given by what we call conventional threat, but also unconventional threat, the rising role of Russia overall in Central Asia areas. If the Russia presence or the Chinese presence may increase, this can pose a direct threat to the Italian interests as well. Besides, we shouldn't neglect, at least from the Italian point of view, the migration phenomenon, which is posing one of the biggest concern for the Italian government as well. So this is just a draft. According to my interest, I would like to develop further, as I mentioned, by tackling as well the relations between Italy and Mongolia, which are considered as very important, as well as by dig a bit further on the relations between Italy and South Korea. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Valeria. Well, I cannot deny that we are all ignorant of diplomatic efforts raised by other countries, even though we are the experts of IR. Well, as we are not the area experts, so we can easily understood that how Italy try to increase its influence all over the global society, and making ties with Italy and South Korea and also with Mongolia would be important. And Mongolia is also working hard to improve its relationship with other countries by taking initiatives in diplomatic relations. Okay, thank you, Valeria. And I'd like to invite the third speaker, Ulaanbaatar Davanyastan from the National Security Council of Mongolia. And his title is Between Giants, How Great Powers Weaponize Supranational Norms, Lessons from Northeast Asia. And I expected that, Mr. Davanyastan, sorry, can tell us how Mongolia is trying to effort the fight against the weaponization of great powers. Okay, please.
Greetings everyone, and I'd also like to welcome our international guests as well. And there's a saying in Mongolia that the fortunate bring the rain. So thank you for bringing the rain. And as Dr. Jung said, the title of my speech is Lessons from Northeast Asia, primarily. But I do have some takeaways for Mongolia, but I think much has been on what Mongolia has been doing was given by Dr. Zolpo. So I will shorten that section and move on to how the supranational norms are being exploited and and why Northeast Asia is a particularly interesting case study for supranational norms in general, and what lessons we can derive from our region, not just for ourselves, but for the international system. And as it has been voiced time and again, this year especially, we are now living in a perhaps a transitioning period of time from unipolarity to a perhaps several poles, or maybe we don't know what shape it will take. Or it has already, the world is already at a multipolar international order. So maybe there are some arguments there. But when you think about great powers exploiting supranational norms and structures and architectures, perhaps what we see today is not necessarily the first case, as you might remember how President Bush kind of made unilateral decisions when it came to the Iraq War in 2003. But there is a distinct difference between that period of time and what we're seeing unfold now, because back then we were still living at what many scholars will say the unipolar moment or the unipolar order, whereas now we are living either in a transitional period or a multipolar world order. So as with the new presidency, the second presidency of President Trump, the great power competition has been exacerbated, and there's a lot of countries and a lot of experts will say that there is certain uncertainty, and supranational cooperation between countries has become more difficult, and perhaps because of that, more necessary. Institutions such as the United States, the World Trade Organization, various other regional organizations like ASEAN or even European Union has come to face their own troubles and challenges. And as we know, the European Union is kind of the poster child of a supranational architecture, but even they are facing some challenges. But these supranational institutions and frameworks really helped the countries across the world to sort of transcend national interest in pursuit of shared global agendas such as peace, stability, sustainable development, human rights, environment. The supranational norms and supranational frameworks are supposed to function as a scaffolding for a global solidarity, and providing rules and norms of cooperation and venues to resolve conflicts and disputes, and possibly prevent unilateral coercion, which is something that is precisely at stake during this time. In the Trump 2.0 era, this phenomenon becomes even more acute, I think, because this becomes even more noticeable because his predecessors, Presidents Obama and Biden, they were kind of the champions of the what you call the liberal world order. They championed internationalism, they championed multilateralism. One of the catchphrases of the Obama era is, of course, the lead from behind, where you give your partners, your allies, a chance to lead, a chance to drive a global agenda. But now we're seeing that that lead from behind has gone, and it's more of bargaining and more transactional, as we've just seen how the trade deal unfolded in Europe last week. So there's more unilateral and more national interest-driven agenda from the United States, and of course this certainly comes head-to-head with the other great powers in the world, particularly, of course, China and Russia, the elephants in the room. So even in this time, in this regard, I think Northeast Asia is a particularly interesting case because we don't have a supranational institution like the European Union or the African Union or the Mercosur or even what the North American trade agreement happened, and even in East Asia we have, in the South we have ASEAN, but here in Northeast Asia there is a lack of a supranational institution or framework, and you probably remember, Dr. Jung, that one of your co-panelists at UBD remarked that Northeast Asia is actually fragmented compared to Central Asia, which was a very acute observation coming from our colleague from Kazakhstan. Amidst these, I will talk about how great powers are exploiting and kind of weaponizing supranational norms, and then I will talk about the Northeast Asian case and I'll add to Dr. Zolbo's points about what we can learn from Mongolia's foreign policy case, and particularly of what Mongolia has been doing lately. So great powers are exploiting the international system, the supranational norms, in several ways. The first one is kind of forum shopping. So this means that when it's convenient, the great powers will enforce and endorse the supranational norms, supranational institutions. But when it's not convenient, they will actually move away from it or try to act unilaterally, like we're seeing right now with President Trump's diplomacy. He prefers to do more bilateral negotiations instead of multilateralism. So with that, I think this shows that President Trump's administration sees multilateralism as a constraint to American power rather than perhaps it was seen as a complementary, like a consensual constraint during the Biden-Obama eras. And this is, of course, not just the Americas. It also is unilateral actions, and forum shopping is also a habit of other great powers, such as when one clear case with China is, of course, the South China Sea territorial disputes, when the Philippines and the Chinese were disputing a collection of rocks in the middle of South China Sea, when the International Court ruled in favor of the Philippines, China just decided to ignore the decisions. So it is not just a U.S. thing that supranational norms are being cherry-picked. And then, of course, economic interdependence is being manipulated and leveraged against leverage to gain upper hand in different kinds of negotiations. So we have these tariffs. That's a clear example of one. And then, of course, from China's side, they leverage their economy, trade deals for political ends. And Mongolia has been at the receiving end of this. Perhaps we're more sensitive to the pains of it, especially the latest would be the 2016 economic sanctions on Mongolia. And of course, South Korea has been at the receiving end too. For the case I'm talking about is, of course, relates to the Dalai Lama, they don't really like when Dalai Lama goes visiting countries, and visiting Korea has, Dalai Lama's visit to Korea has had South Korea on the receiving end of the economic leverage. And sometimes great powers will sabotage the supranational frameworks from within, like the UN Security Council has become a defunct organization because of the permanent 5 countries are laying vetoes on decisions they don't like, and when they have a consensus, things go through. When they don't have a consensus, it stalls and it's defunct. And in such ways, great powers have exploited supranational norms and supranational structures and architectures for their own ends. Moving on to Northeast Asia case, we've had efforts to build supranational frameworks like the 6-party talk, Northeast Asia Peace and Cooperation Initiative, trilateral cooperation among China, Japan, and South Korea. But when push comes to shove, when geopolitical interests are at stake, these frameworks have fallen apart at the seams. And it really is in a region where there are historical hurts and historical issues that still need to be resolved. The supranational frameworks drive towards a wall. And these underlying issues really need to be resolved before we can build something like ASEAN, for example, or build something like, to be more optimistic, to build something like European Union, for example. And these initiatives, they're on, without resolving the underlying issues, these are basically sandcastles. They'll be washed away in a wave. To add to Dr. Zolbo, my thoughts on what we can take from Mongolia is that, especially of recent, Mongolia presents interesting cases, sort of issue-based multilateralism, builds cases of cooperation and cooperation on issues such as environment. In the coming year, Mongolia will host the UN's anti-desertification conference, the COP17. And also in recent years, Mongolia, successive governments of Mongolia has actually decided to appoint a female foreign minister, and that is, and I refer to this because this has become an interesting platform for diplomacy, because we've hosted, I think, the first ever summit for female foreign ministers, if this is correct. Of course, one of the primary issues that was discussed during during that summit was, of course, how women's leadership can resolve issues peacefully and sustainably, and how women's leadership are a necessity. And of course, despite that, the Female Foreign Ministers Summit also offered a unique platform to discuss other underlying issues such as geopolitical tensions, supply chain issues, food security. So the summit was not just about female leadership, but it was also about other tangible problems that we face as a collective group of countries. So Mongolia is leveraging all these different kinds of niche ways that we can bring people together and host them and talk about problems and talk about solutions that we can find and apply to resolve matters. And these kinds of issue-based cooperations, issue-based dialogues can turn into more deeper confidence-building convert the successes into deeper confidence-building measures, and from that we can probably expand to build a framework for cooperation, and then perhaps resolve some of the underlying issues that is in the region. So maybe using these issue-based minilateralist platforms and dialogues is a way to go forward when it comes to cooperating and enforcing the supranational norms and solidarity when the great powers are tearing these supranational norms, and these are breaking at the seams. So these efforts can hold it as tight as possible, despite these tensions. And other than that, I think Dr. Zolba mentioned the UBD, which is one of the efforts my organization is responsible for, and also the nuclear weapon-free zone is also a big success in Mongolia's foreign policy. I think that can also serve as an example for denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, for example, because if one of the key issues key drivers of North Korea's nuclearization is security, the Mongolian case demonstrates that you can denuclearize and stay secure. And I think those are the lessons I have for you. I think I sent this speech maybe too late for the publication in the booklet, but I have sent them, yes.
Okay. So, did you conclude?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Byandagar. And actually, you raised the fundamental questions regarding the supranational cooperation, because we have to talk about the norms and issues and how can we handle the problems of standard setting. Well, we cannot deny that we are governed by the Western standard nowadays, and the global South and global North problem. And the fact that delivered by the Western media is a little bit different from the fact that we have here now. So anyway, thank you for the presentation. And I'd like to invite, thank you. I'd like to invite the three panelists to the podium one by one. So first discussion would be made by Dr. Dugersuren Davadash from National Institute for Security Studies of Mongolia. Please, mic is yours. Okay, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. And at the outset, I wish to express my sincere gratitude to giving me the opportunity to participate as a panelist in this forum. And as my fellow speakers has welcomed you, I welcome you, our foreign guests, to our country and in the most pleasant weather conditions, right? Although it's rain, but it's cool. So yeah, it's not like everywhere else very hot and stuff. I have no critical comments whatsoever to the speeches of our previous speakers. Basically, they covered everything, and I'm very grateful for that. But I have a couple of points where I thought it's have necessity to emphasize from this podium. So although Mongolia has done a tremendous job in order to promote diplomatic relation with all countries, as distinguished chairperson has mentioned, South Korea has established diplomatic relation with all member states of the United Nations. Mongolia has left one, if not already has established with all 193. So we're also trying our best to be the responsible state. Our fellow speakers has pointed out about Mongolia's efforts such as UBD, nuclear-free zone, and we're doing tremendous effort to promote international cooperation in regard to develop or keep peace and stability in the world. However, I think we have plenty of room to improve our role in security talks or dialogues. I mean, Mongolia's role. In fact, the COP17 or UBD or any other negotiations being held in Mongolia is being organized quite on the highest level, and we have broad participation. However, when it comes to the security talks, which is with real outcomes, such as let's mention US and North Korea dialogue, right? There were a lot of news in the media that Mongolia could be the country, the neutral zone, which has a good relationship with all countries in Northeast Asia, and that could be the country, right? It's not about the Mongolia's capacity, whether we can organize or not. Obviously, we can, and it has proven. But when it comes to these dialogues, we're not there. So why? Is there any rooms or is there any areas we need to improve so that security talks, especially in regard to the region where Mongolia is situated, about Northeast Asia, the bilateral talks, trilateral talks, or multilateral talks could be organized in Mongolia. So I think our government and we, the academic sphere, should do more researches and come up with the more recommendations so the role of Mongolia will be increased in regard to the security talks and dialogues. I'm very grateful to our last speaker from ISS that he has mentioned about the exploiting of international rule and norms by major powers. So back when I was working in New York from 2018 to 2023, the international community, and I have 5 minutes? Oh, okay, I'll be as brief as possible. Okay, thank you. Thank you for pointing out. So the international community and United Nations, put on challenge itself, its existence, and all international rule-based order put on challenge, right? And it put dividends into whole international community. So this is the clear example of that major power can selectively implement or interpret the international law norms, right? And it could behave according to their convenience. I'm totally agree with our third speaker. So what we have to do is that collectively with our third neighbors, right? With everybody, we need to collectively stand on United Nations Security Council reform so that every member state would adhere to the international norms and rule so that every country, every member state would promote international rule-based order. Because for the country like Mongolia, it's one of the crucial things where we're situated in a very unique geographical position, and the international rule-based order, the adherence to the international norms, and to promote rule of law both nationally and internationally is one of the most important things of our survival. So that's my 5 minutes. And I had to thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your insightful comments. And your mention remind me of the maxim of a realist: the strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. Okay, so we have to overcome this kind of default. I'd like to invite Dr. Kim Jin-young to the podium as the second panelist, please.
8 minutes, okay. First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude for being invited to such an excellent forum. and for having the opportunity to listen to three outstanding presenters. They examine three distinct but interconnected approaches to navigating great power competition in East Asia, especially. Thanks to them, we could explore how smaller and middle power are developing innovative diplomatic strategies to maintain autonomy and build meaningful cooperation despite intensifying geopolitical tensions. Three presenters today offer complementary perspectives, I think. Mongolia's Strategy Balancing Act, the manipulation of supranational institutions, and Italy's middle power engagement model. Together, they illuminated both the challenges and opportunities for non-hegemonic actors in today's fragmented international order. All right, let me walk through these in presentation order briefly. Director Dr. Dashiam demonstrated how Mongolia transformed geographic constraint into diplomatic assets through its third neighbor policy. Key innovations including the following factors, I think. First, strategic diversification by cultivating relationship with the United States, India, South Korea, Turkey, EU, and Japan. Mongolia maintains autonomy despite being landlocked between Russia and China. Second, institutional leadership. The 10-year-old Ulaanbaatar dialogue created neutral space for regional security discussions, filling a critical gap in East Asian diplomatic architecture. Third would be practical contributions. Mongolia ranked 24th globally in UN peacekeeping and host conquest exercises, proving smaller states can contribute through capacity building rather than military projection. This work effectively demonstrated diplomatic innovation, showing how neutrality can be active rather than passive. Mongolia's nuclear weapon-free status since 1992 provided moral authority. At the same time, however, the analysis might underexplore economic vulnerability, like 90% of export to China and 25% GDP from mining could constrain diplomatic interdependence. And second presenter, Director Dr. Valeria examined Italy's evolving role as a middle power, focusing on pragmatic engagement with Central Asia and Turkey. I identified the following some contributions as follow. First, framework clarity, effective definition of middle power capabilities, coalition building, multilateral engagement, non-entrepreneurship, and mediation differentiated Italy from both great powers and small states. Second, strategic positioning. Italy leverages its Mediterranean hub status, in particular energy transit through Middle Corridor and Southern Gas Corridor projects. Third, concrete experience. The first Italy Central Asia Summit and Baikar Piaggio Aerospace, right? Acquisition demonstrated successful economic to strategy partnership worth billions. And there is solidarity model. Italy balances geopolitical realism with ethical foreign policy, offering a template for principled middle power navigation. I think, however, sustainability challenges need deeper examination. Budgetary limits, political volatility, and coordination with the EU collective action could undermine long-term commitments. Final presenter, Bjorn Derger provided a compelling analysis of how great power weaponized supranational institutions using Northeast Asia as a critical case study. There are some contributions I identified. First, theoretical innovation. The concept of weaponized supranational norms revealed sophisticated manipulation beyond simple non-compliance. Second, regarding to the case study, Northeast Asia served as excellent laboratory. The systematic failure of six-party talk, NAPCI, and trilateral mechanisms demonstrated how great power rivalry undermined regional solidarity despite urgent transnational challenges. And I like alternative model, actually. Mongolia's Ulaanbaatar dialogue represented middle-out cooperation that survives because it doesn't depend on hegemonic sponsorship. We might consider, however, while addressing Trump 2.0, your analysis could better differentiate structural trends from administration-specific policies. Economic constraints on Mongolia's neutrality need a deeper examination. Overall, these three presenters could illustrate a crucial trend, which is the emergence of innovative diplomatic approaches by non-hegemonic actors in the era of great power competition. I received actually several insights from the presentations. First one, small and middle powers can maintain relevance through specialization and innovation. Alternative multilateral formats may prove more resilient than traditional institutions. Economic vulnerabilities remain the primary constraint, especially reflecting on diplomatic interdependence. So success requires balancing bilateral initiatives with collective action. Finally, these presentations might raise fundamental questions about the future of diplomacy in a multipolar world. What happens when economic dependence conflicts with diplomatic autonomy? And can institutions' innovation by smaller powers ultimately reshape great power behavior? I believe that we need to explore these questions in our discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kim, for your valuable comments. And the last discussion is Professor Park Jong-ho. The podium is yours. Within 8 minutes, please, okay?
Hello, everyone. This is Jong-ho Park, and thank you for the presentations. So I found that all three presentations are very thoughtful, constructive, and also very creative, so I appreciate all your endeavors. So my comments would be very short because I noticed that everyone's attention span is getting narrower, shorter, so I'll make it very quick. So first of all, the Professor Zorbo Dashnam. So he seems to picture Mongolia. So Mongolia is the landlocked, 3 million people, and squeezed by Russia at the north and China to the south. So most governments would hide in these situations, but as Mongolia shows up, it keeps up friends to all and enemy to none of them. And it has rotated over 20,000 peacekeeper troops, UN missions from South Sudan to Lebanon. Each June, it runs as conquest or giant field exercises where US, Chinese, Indians, and even NATO troops are trained side by side on Mongolian grasslands. So, and since 2013, it hosts the Ulaanbaatar dialogue, the only talk shops in Northeast Asia. This is where North Korean, Japanese, and US scholars still sat in the same table. So here's the big lessons you can learn from the presentations, that a small state can manufacture diplomatic spaces if it builds up its own independence agendas, and then connects them into the global network. So we know that here's the obstacles, and Mongolia sells 90% of its exports to China. That dependencies is the slight prices of its neutrality. So how long can the balancing act last if Beijing decides to lean hard? It is an unanswered question when you think about this in the futures. The second one is the Dr. Giannotas. Her ship since to Rome. So Italy is the middle-sized but large economy, but rarely the lead the voices in the European unions. So Barreria argues that Italy can still punch us above its weight with 3 tools. So Italy has the 3 tools. First one is the EU votes. Italy can convince meetings Brussels alone won't call. Second one is the ports. Trieste and Genoa sit on the fastest rail tracks into the Central Europe. So energy from the Mediterranean can move north in these cases. The 3 is cultural capitals. Just think about the Italy's design, think about the Italy's food, and think about and Vatican's. So she points to the 2025 Italy Central Asia Summit and Italy's pushes for the Trans-Caspian Middle Corridor as a proof. So, but here's the takeaway. So Italy's map positions and its friends shows their promises, but only if Rome first tames its wild home politics at the first places and stays out from the EU's money fight, there's another problem. So obviously, there are not easy assumptions, and most of the times they are the big holders for the Italy's new policy changes. So the paper needs to spell out these potential problems in more details in the future improvement. So third one is our fellow researchers, Buyan Delgil Dawajanchans. So he seems to zoom way out. He points out the United States and China's and Russia, and he says that they have learned to weaponize the rules. They cherry-pick WTO verdicts, show roll UN clauses findings. And sanctions like carrot and sticks, they are using it. So his observations echoes the previous presenters, the Zorbus findings. Blind ties, this mini letters, track 2 scholars network and civil society ties is that the giants cannot easily veto. It is a sharp idea. I found that this is the really interesting ideas. It gives us a fresh languages, weaponize the norms. But what we still need are the numbers. So how often do big powers bend the rules, and what exactly the small powers can prevent? So 2 shared questions for all the scholars is here. The first one is the scoreboard. What mechanisms shows the success? It is not sufficient to address the before, so it can be the extra meetings on the table, lower tariff lines, or new foreign direct investments can be the cases, or something entirely new. So our presentations can take advantages of getting more detailed. So here's another one. So if great power squeezes, like using the tariff or using the military or using the investment, so what incentive mechanisms keep small powers keep coordinating with each other. So here can be the regional funds, here can be the collective retaliations, or sometimes it's diversified supply chains. So we need to think about this together as well. So here's the closing thoughts. Here's my final idea is that big power rivalry is not quick thunderstorms. So it is the daily weather that we wake up to every morning. That means is that countries that never wanted a job now must keep the rules alive. Mongolia shows one road. So Mongolia, stay neutral, host your meetings, or invite everyone. All Italy shows another. Italy, build up new coalitions partners, or use your spots on the map as leverage. Or here's the next step. So we need some hard numbers. We need some hard numbers. Who tackle with whom, and how many troops are out there, or how often sanctions banned, hit. So only solid data will tell us if these middle powers are just a piece of, just the parts of our old systems, or quickly laying bricks for another new systems. Here's the two dimensions passport. So I think this is everything. So thank you for listening. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Professor Bach, for your valuable comments. And we had 3 speakers and 3 panelists at this session, and 3 speakers raised about questions regarding Mongolia's diplomatic initiative for the peace of the global society. And the second one was second presenter talked about the fragmented world, and the third speaker raised about the question of supranational norms raised by the Western standard, and how can we overcome it. And 3 discussants made valuable comments regarding that. And unfortunately, we have limited time, so I cannot give mic to the podium floor. But so I can say that we have completed the first session successfully and with a lot of happiness. And I'd like to invite all the panelists and the speakers to the front to take a group photo. And thank you for your participation in the first session. Thank you.